Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Talk Freelance to Me podcast. I'm your host, Ashley. Thank you so much for joining us again. I have a fantastic new freelancer to introduce to you. This on the show today is Carina Barrau from Portugal, and I'm so excited to welcome her. Carina, how are you? Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so good. It's the weather here is starting to get hotter, so that's always nice because it's really not the best thing to sit at your desk, right, and being cold outside. Yeah.
Yes. And so where are you in Portugal? Which coast are you? Are you by Spain? Like, which part are you in?
Yeah, I'm by Spain, and I do hear a lot people calling Portugal the little sister of Spain, but it's not.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much for being here today. And over here, I'm in Orlando, in Florida, and it's kind of rainy over here. And it's getting warm also. It's getting closer to summer. I feel like here we have two seasons. It's just hot and hotter, more hot. We don't really have a winter the way you guys do. So it's very different. Awesome. So I'm going to read a little bit, Freelance fam, I'm going to read a little bit from Carina's bio to you so you can get to know her more. So Carina is a freelance writer working on content related to freelancing and digital marketing. She helps creative businesses ditch boring content so that they can reach their audience through the power of words. She's super passionate about showing other people that you can be professional while keeping your witty and youthful self. Thank you again, Carina. So that was your formal bio, but why don't you take a moment to just introduce yourself to all the listeners today?
Oh, yeah, you said it. I'm a freelance writer, but I've been a writer since I was little. I've just always loved it. And of course, I started with those tales that people in school tell you to write. And there's not really a meaning to it, but I just loved writing.
That's so cool. That's something I see like a lot of the folks that I've talked to so far is definitely that love of writing has started from childhood, from writing short stories. And was that true for you too?
Yeah, and so I think that's what made freelance made sense because like a very formal writing career, getting a book deal, and being at the whims of your editor, it didn't sound very appealing.
That's so cool. Very cool. I love it. It's funny because whenever I tell people that I'm a writer, that's the first thing they ask. What's your book? Can I find your book? And I tell them, there's a whole other world called freelance writing that's totally different than what people think of, right? So interesting. So I understand that you entered freelance right out of high school. Can you share more about this experience and any challenges that you encountered, if any?
So I just think I had a lot going. It was half knowing that I didn't want to go to college, but it was also that I had so much going on to feed university into my life. And about the challenges that it probably made me face, I would say just breaking young bad habits and getting into good ones that would allow for a good career.
That's awesome.
Yes, you need a lot of self-discipline and to handle your own taxes, to handle everything, and you don't have that right when you're out of high school.
Yeah, I know. I sure didn't. I did not have that discipline at all. I'm still struggling with that discipline at 40 years old. So kudos to you. So we connected on Instagram. For anybody who's been following, I recently started this Instagram account. This whole talk freelance to me is relatively new. Even though I've been writing for a long time, I've just been doing it at my desk and not really talking about it to the world. But by putting content out on Instagram, I've been able to make a lot of cool new friends in the writing world. And Carina's one of these awesome writers who's been open to connecting with me on Instagram. And your name is so interesting. Your handle is Bits of Catharsis. And that's really interesting name. Can you tell us what's the backstory with your handle and how you branded yourself with your website?
Actually, not that it's catharsis. It's the title of my favorite song from the band Motionless in White. So I looked up what that word meant and I loved it, and it meant everything that I stood for. So just made sense. I started sharing bits of my experience, and catharsis is like an experience. So bits of my experience.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's basically all.
I love it. Well, it's super unique. And, that's kind of the goal, right? Is to stand out on the internet when everybody is putting content, putting bits of their life out and, wanting to stand out. So I think that it works. It totally works.
Yeah, but people don't realize right away that you're a writer. So when that might be when you need to consider a little.
Absolutely. Very cool. So, a lot of people really think that freelance helps you create this amazing work life balance, right? Where we are just working and then we do yoga and then we have a wine on the patio. And, that this life is very, maybe less stress than another office job. What's your take on this? How do you approach work and rest?
I mean, I think you can definitely do that to be drinking wine and writing, but I certainly haven't figured out how to get it. I'm sorry, that's a really good question.
Yeah, I find more, and I don't know if this is true for you, it's more like a wave, like the ocean with ebbs and flows, where, you're working on a project for a client and you might be working very intensely for 3 days, 4 days, however long it takes to meet that deadline. And then there might be lulls where it's more calm, where it's kind of quiet, nobody's emailing, you know what I mean? So I feel like work life balance, maybe balance is not the right word, right? Because balance is more like a seesaw, like, it's more equal. And I feel like there's some times where I am super busy and I might get 2 hours of sleep, 3 hours of sleep, just drinking coffee. And then sometimes it's more normal where it's a normal work day. And so that's the way that I see it. But it's funny to see people believe that our life as freelancers is very chill, that it's not stressful. And I think it can be stressful sometimes. What about you?
Yeah, it can be stressful sometimes because, again, you need to handle basically everything. I mean, at least at the start, if you don't have a team and if your ideal is to get to that drinking wine while writing at the beginning, that might not be so true and it might discourage a lot of people.
I think so.
Yeah.
So you mentioned discipline as being something that you've learned that it has to take, that to be a good freelancer, it takes discipline. What other things, what advice do you have for beginning freelancers who are trying this, but maybe they feel like their freelance career is not going the way that they wanted? What should they do?
I would say that try to get back to the basics because there are a lot of people coming into the space basically every day. So maybe try to see what they're doing and don't be ashamed to if you need to kind of start again because yeah, things might not be going as well as you wanted them, but it's like you're already starting with some experience. Maybe you just need to go back to the basics, like networking in Facebook groups, doing cold pitching, those things that people usually identify with being too small for someone who is more ahead in their freelance career. But I think that you shouldn't stop doing this just because you get a more stable point. Because it's like you said, it ebbs and flows so much.
Such good advice, especially about networking, on Facebook groups or wherever you can find other writers. Because I feel like that is where I started, even when I started writing. I found a couple very successful writers who had been writing a lot longer than me. And they were really kind in letting me take them out for coffee and ask them questions. And by networking with them, I learned a lot. And it was so much better than just me being in my little house by myself, just trying to solve these problems alone. When you talk to other professionals, you can really like get some ideas. Like you said, might get a referral for something, overflow work. And I love that. That's super cool. So your content has been really, really helpful. I love your website. Love that you share tips and things for other writers.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And it seems like you know a lot about, these kind of tips and things that can help. Is there a resource, a hack, or a tip, maybe something that you found recently that's really helping you personally?
I would say not a specific resource, but like signing up to newsletters that round up goals from beaches because it's basically doing half the work for you. You just have to present yourself and your services after that.
For sure. And I understand you actually have a newsletter that you have a resource called the Freelance Insider. Can you tell us more about that in case people want to sign up?
The freelancing insider. Yeah, it's basically when I share a weekly tip that's half motivational, half something actionable that you can actually use. And then you have the greater spotlight that features other people.
Very cool. And I love the part that you said about actionable things, because I find that for me, when I was first starting, I would be reading and reading and reading and reading, but I would never take action. I was just consuming other people's content and I wasn't really trying anything for myself or trying to put something out there. And so that's a key, I think, is taking action, is not just reading these awesome tips that you've put, but that encouraging your readers to really take the next step and to put it into practice what you're sharing. That's really cool.
And I think you find that a lot with online courses, like most of them just tell you nice information, but don't show you exactly how to do something. And I think that's really like every freelancer will have to find their own the resources that really resonate with them, because something that I might find not that helpful, you might love.
Yeah, 100%. I think that you hit the nail on the head with there's so much information on the internet. And I feel like there's so many of these people talking about the laptop lifestyle and they're showing themselves on beautiful beaches. And all of that's nice, right? Showing what's aspirational, showing what's possible, showing kind of like what's the impact. How could freelance give you, more control over your schedule and whatever? But I think a lot of it is flimsy, right? There's not a lot of value. There's not a lot of meat to it. So I love what you're putting together with that mix.
Yeah, but even I follow accounts like that because it's nice to get a little bit of that boost. But then you have to figure out how to take action.
Yes, 100%. Because nothing happens. Nothing happens if all we do is read, read, read. And we have the knowledge here, but then it stays there. It doesn't come out in any way, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Carina, this is so good. I'm definitely going to include a link to your website in the show notes so that people can sign up to the Freelance Insider newsletter. So tell us more. Where can people find you online if they want to connect with you more?
Basically, all my handles are Bits of Catharsis. So you can Google that and you'll find my website. You can also find me on Instagram like that. The only thing that's different is my LinkedIn, where you only need to Google my name, Carina Barrau, and you'll find me.
Yay! Fantastic. Well, I'll definitely include a link to your LinkedIn account as well. So, writers, listen up. You heard Carina telling you how important it is to network with other writers. And so, ask Carina to connect. Maybe she'll accept your connection and we can all grow together in that way.
Yeah.
Awesome, Carina. Well, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy day to be with us, to share some of your journey. We appreciate it. I'll let you go now. Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, we've come to the end of another episode. Please make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already done so, and give me a 5-star review on Apple. This will help out a lot in getting the word out about this brand new podcast. I invite you to check out the show notes and also grab my free Niches Get Riches freelance writing worksheet to brainstorm the best niches for your writing business. If you're not a writer, you can still use it to get business ideas. And until next time, this is Ashley at Talk Freelance to Me. Don't forget, we all get this one precious life. Don't constrain yourself to a box that you were never meant to fit in. It is your right to profit from your own creative gifts. This podcast was created by Ashley Cisneros Mejia. Our music was composed by Donna Rafael of World Instrumentals. Talk Freelance to Me is a product of Phoenix Creative Studio.